Setting off on this autumnal morning with its mist and the beginnings of the autumn colours. I want to show you 3 plants of the same genus that have flowers late in the year. There's one here which is rather sparsely flowering, but each flower is very delicate and I think rather beautiful. And this one is called Strobilanthes flexicolis. There we are. And next to it, in rather large and spreading, is another Strobilanthes. This one is called Strobilanthes wallichii. Much bigger growing, as you can see, and really rather a splendid sight, throwing itself far and wide. This came from the late Edward Needham's garden, Treguy, near Truro in Cornwall, collected in the wild in China. And the third Strobilanthes is down this way. This is a short-lived perennial, again with rather sparsely flowered stems, but you can see the family resemblance. And it's called Strobilanthes atropurpurea, which means very blue. A useful plant for the late part of the year. In the distance, I can see a small tree, a multi-stem tree, which is flowering away, and the flowers have got a lovely scent, flowering all the way up to the top here. Let's have a closer look. They're quite small, but very sweetly scented. This is almost certainly a hybrid introduced by Robert Fortune from Japan in the 19th century, and it bears his name, Osmanthus fortunei. Talking of Robert Fortune, I thought I'd share with you a couple of stories. He was a Scotsman who first studied botany, horticulture at the Royal Botanic Gardens in Edinburgh, and then moved to London to the Horticultural Society Gardens in Chiswick. And in the 1840s, the early 1840s, he was sent out by the Society to collect plants of interest and send them back to the Society from China mainly, and also Japan. In spite of the slight opening up of China and Japan to foreigners in the 1840s, they were still discouraged from going anywhere further than a few miles from where they were based. So he put on Chinese robes, and I'm not quite sure how convincing he was as a Chinese merchant, but anyway, he went out and collected really quite far and wide and sent plants back to England. Now, the British East India Company got a wind of him and sent him out on a mission to study tea growing and tea production, which was exclusively Chinese at the time. They had the monopoly. And so he went dressed as in Mandarin robes, which involved a lot of folds in the material, proceeded but 5 paces ahead by his servant Wang, who was announcing his progress to all and sundry, as befits an important merchant. And at the tea factory, Wang managed to persuade the owner, quite how, that to show Robert Fortune around, which the owner did, thereby showing him all the secret processes involved in producing tea. Robert Fortune managed to smuggle a few samples of the various tea stages into his voluminous robes, said thank you very much, and left. And the rather involved processes in manufacturing the tea were discovered thanks to this rather underhand method employed by Robert Fortune and the British East India Company. Walking down by the side of the Turkish tent, one's eye is caught by the fabulous flaming color of the Japanese maple. This is one I chop back about every other year because it has wonderful new growth, stems of an orangey red. And when the leaves have dropped, you get this lovely red stem, and often lit up by the low light of the winter sun, glowing as well. A lovely Acer. Now, coming along the path here, one is struck by the large, substantial flowers of an Amarine. There are a couple more to come. This is a hybrid between an Amaryllis and a Narine, giving us the more substantial blooms, which are quite hardy. This is not as shocking a pink as some of them can be. And I think this is one of the Bella Diva series. Anyway, quite by chance, not organized at all, but behind the Amarine, you can see the lovely sort of starry remnants of the Agapanthus seed heads. A few seeds hanging on, but I think it makes a rather good background. And lurking behind this Agapanthus seed heads are the rather shocking sort of orangey pink colours of a hardy gerbera. It is truly hardy, certainly here, and extremely happy in the south-facing raised bed that it's occupying. If you want colour over quite a long period, this is your chap. Rising up to about 6 feet is this herbaceous hibiscus. Hibiscus mosquitos. And it does have the most enormous flowers. It is very dramatic. Unfortunately, it just misses being fantastically beautiful in that the flowers only last a couple of days and then they start collapsing. And so what you've got is you've got a herbaceous plant with rather manky looking older flowers and only one or two which are really standing out as they should. Disappears in the winter, reappears in the summer. Now, for a quite tropical effect with a perfectly hardy plant is this wide-spreading Mahonia, which has a slightly nauseating name of soft caress. In other words, if you brush against the leaves, unlike an ordinary Mahonia, which is in fact related to berberis and is very spiny, this one has soft, caressing foliage. Huh. Anyway, as I say, I think this is a marvelous thing for not only for its late flowering, but for a sort of jungly effect, if you want. Next to it is an aster, which I got at a local cash and carry many years ago, and I've no idea what the name is, but it's a jolly thing and combines well with the yellow flowers of the Mahonia. Walking down towards the summer house, diverted by the shocking pink of these Nerines, I see over there the fuchsia, which I'm training into a standard, and it's already produced quite a substantial small tree dripping with flowers. This is fuchsia called Lechlade magician. One of the parents of this hybrid is, I believe, Fuchsia excorticata from New Zealand, which is a fuchsia that has blue pollen, which I think adds to the general attractiveness of these discreet flowers. And another reason for growing it as a standard is the lovely peeling bark we're going to get, already beginning to form from its Fuchsia excorticata parent.